just set sail!
Yay!
Yay. But it does mean...
Yes, we have the next 8 days at sea. So we're not going to see land again now for 8 days.
Which is a lot. Because if anything goes wrong, we're in the middle of nowhere. But join us as we find out and we let you know if we think that 8 days at sea is too much.
As we sailed away from Miami and waved goodbye to land for 8 days,
Bye, land.
We already knew that we loved sea days on Virgin Voyages. We love spending time on the ship, so much so that on previous voyages we've tended sometimes to not get off the ship on port days and instead spend the time exploring the ship. It's when the ship's at its most quietest, and you can truly lie back, relax, and do as much or as little as you want. But anyway, even though we knew we loved sea days, we still had our reservations as we started our journey across the Atlantic Ocean. 8 days looking out over this ocean is a long time, so was there going to be enough entertainment, activities and things to do to fill the time? And with it being such a lengthy voyage, were we going to get bored of the food? And just how much weight were we going to put on? Also, just how busy was the ship going to be? On previous shorter voyages, sea days quite often can be quite busy, especially around the main pool area. Luckily for this voyage we knew we had access to Rich's rooftop for some quiet time, but would the pool be an issue? And lastly, more important for Mark, was I going to get seasick? And how would it feel to be in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, days upon days from land? Ah! But make sure you stick around to the end of this video, because we'll be giving you our opinion on whether we think transatlantic voyages are good value for money or not. As for entertainment and shows, we really needn't have worried. There were plenty of shows on the programme, from classics like the Untitled Dance Show Party Thing, which is a really unique but fantastic 360-degree immersive show. It's really worth checking out. Also in the Red Room is the classic dual reality show, which is packed full of acrobatics to keep you entertained. A new show for us on this voyage was Ships in the Night. It was beautiful, energetic, but somewhat strange in some places, but definitely still worth a watch. The Manor also had plenty of entertainment scheduled in for our voyage. We had 2 fantastic guest comics on board for our crossing, Jack and Andre from the UK. Their humour was right up our street.
I cheated on you. I'm sorry. I still love you. What? No, I'm not pregnant. Will you do the ass?
We also had the brilliant Dixie Crystals, who was the diva for our voyage. We watched her in Around the World in 80 minutes and she was fantastic. Lee, your balls have fallen out again. And of course, we had the staple of all Virgin Voyages, Scarlet Night, which broke up the 8 days just perfectly. To use up some of that sailor loot, we also filled our sea days with various paid activities. From the Bubbles and Bites champagne tasting event, to the hugely entertaining Mix It Up cocktail competition. This one got quite messy. If you haven't already, give our video reviews of Scarlet Night, Bubbles and Bites, and the Mix It Up event a little watch after this one. And whilst you're there, don't forget to drop us a subscribe. Honestly, there was so much entertainment on board, far too much for us to show you in this video. From the grog walk, to seahorse auctions, and this dance number, and this guy playing a flute. And of course, we couldn't not talk about David's favourite thing, karaoke in the groupie, as well as more public displays of karaoke, for those with that persuasion. David. But if all of this is sounding a little bit too much like forced fun for you, fear not. There's plenty to do if you wanted to take things a little slower, from board games and a sewing circle, to jigsaws and shuffleboard. And we always managed to find somewhere to do, well, absolutely nothing. And for those of you that want to be a bit more active, there's this contraption. As well as loads of outdoor gym equipment where you can do gym things.
It's currently day 5 at sea. I'm feeling a little bit croaky this morning, so apologies for my dulcet tones. We're just off to the wake for a little spot of brunch.
We are, yeah.
That's one of our favourite things. You were excited for...
They do, I think it's called the wake. It's basically like an Eggs Benedict, but instead of bacon, it's crispy pork belly.
Wow. So with it being 5 days at sea now, how are you feeling?
I'm okay. I think my biggest struggle at the moment is the time changes. So we are losing an hour every other day. So it's the idea of it kind of eases in to the time difference between Miami and Barcelona. But losing an hour every other day is actually quite
really
tough.
hard.
I feel like the other way, it would be delightful.
Yeah.
If you're doing a transatlantic from Europe to America, you will get an extra hour of sleep every day. Whereas we've been losing it, and I feel a little bit loopy.
Yeah, so we're losing sleep and we're having, not late nights, but
No.
we're having heavy days of drinking.
Yes,
And then
there's nothing
losing
else. You can't get off the ship and do anything, so what is there to do but drink and
and
eat?
eat. Yes.
I've definitely put weight on, but...
Well, let's go
there we
put some more weight on in the wake.
Yay!
We love brunches on Virgin Voyages. You can get them in the wake and in Razzle Dazzle. Both of these come with a bottomless drink option as well. You know how we like a drink.
Ooh. Hello.
As for whether we got bored of the food during the 8 days at sea, well, how could anyone get bored of this food? It is delicious. One of the things that we love about a longer voyage is there's plenty of time to book into all of the fab restaurants on board. And if you can, it's worth getting into some restaurants like the Test Kitchen twice, as they change their menu partway through voyages. But for us, these 8 days at sea gave us the chance to try new food places that we hadn't been to on previous voyages. On our previous 2 voyages, we completely missed the Sun Club Cafe on deck 16. And honestly, the poke bowls, they are beautiful. These sea days also provided a fantastic opportunity to relax at the very back of the ship in the dockhouse and have some tapas.
So we're here at the social club, and I got myself, I hope you can hear me because it's quite loud, we got ourselves a fully hot dog. Not had this before, so I'll let you know. That's really nice. I can't tell if the green peppers are jalapenos or not, but that with the red onions and with the red peppers and the onions, very tasty. And we thought we were going to get ketchup, but you don't need it because it's salty enough. Ooh, saucy.
So, given our previous experience of sea days being quite busy on board, just how was it during these 8 days across the Atlantic? Well, it was very much weather dependent. Slap bang in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, it was actually quite windy, so if you wanted to brave that and sit in the sun, it actually was quite quiet on deck. Having said that, on the nice days that we did have, the pool area didn't seem to get too busy. If you were on board, comment below to let us know how you found it. Just before our voyage, Virgin Voyages introduced a new policy regarding shows. For shows with a free admission, i.e. not the dinner shows, they now operate a first come first served policy. This meant that for the popular shows, there was quite often quite a large queue of people waiting to get in. So this was really the only time we noticed just how busy the ship was. As for how much of an issue this was, I suppose we have a little bit of a skewed view on that because our access to Rich's Rooftop also gave us priority entrance to these shows, so we were able to feel a bit fancy and skip the line. Sorry. We did this transatlantic voyage at the end of April, so beforehand we were slightly worried that the seas might be a little bit rough. However, as you can see, we needn't have worried. And on the couple of days where we did have slightly wobblier seas, yes, you could feel the ship moving, but as someone that's quite sensitive to motion sickness, honestly, I was fine. We got to day 7 before the sea equivalent of cabin fever started to set in, which I don't think's too bad. And in that moment, as we stood there looking out to sea, it suddenly hit us. We knew the ocean was big, but it's big. So, as the sun set on our final night at sea, I'd be lying if I said we weren't ready to see land. And there it was, beautiful Funchal Madeira. Oh, how wonderful it was to see you. So, before getting off at the first port on our voyage, let's talk about whether we think transatlantic voyages are good value for money. In a word, yes. Yes, we really do think they're good value for money. For one, on these longer voyages, you can really get your money's worth in the all-included restaurants. And we think a transatlantic voyage is usually one of the more cost-effective longer voyages that you can do. Generally, these voyages tend to be lower priced and can sometimes be comparable to the price of a 7-day Mediterranean. The playoff though is that you usually have less port days on these voyages. However, that might be why the ticket price is so cheap. There's less port fees to pay. Don't quote us on that though. So as to whether you think it's good value for money, I guess it just depends what you want out of a voyage.
After what turned out to be nearly 9 days, well,
Yes.
about 8.5 days at sea,
Yes.
we have finally arrived in Funchal Madeira.
Yes, we had a slight diversion, which delayed our arrival a little bit due to a medical emergency, but we hope the person who got helivaced off is doing well.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, just arrived a few hours late into Madeira, but we're here now. And Virgin, very kindly, have given everyone free bubbles to celebrate our arrival and to see solid land. I hope I can walk.
I think I might be wobbly when we get off.
Yeah, I think we got used to the motion of the ocean now, so who knows what it will be like. But we'll take you along for our little trip that we're going on. We're going on a little excursion. But before we do that, what do you think about 8 days at sea? Was it too much for you?
I don't think it's too much, but I don't think I could do much more. I'm ready to get off this ship.
Yeah, I think I could do a little bit more, but I think 8 days was just right.
There was plenty to do on the ship.
Oh yeah, there was no. It definitely wasn't too much. If we go back to the question, is 8 days at sea too much? No.
For us personally, it's very subjective.
Yeah, but there was tons. We didn't do nearly half the stuff that was available on the ship. There were so many activities to get involved in and stuff. I don't think you'd be bored, so don't let that put you off. I probably wouldn't advise it as your first cruise.
Yeah, I think that's a lot to go.
This is our third, and I feel like doing the 2-week one for the honeymoon last year helped get us into the spirit of being on board quite a lot.
Yeah.
So if it's your first cruise, probably not. But if you're a seasoned traveller and you haven't done a transatlantic, I would recommend it. You can get away from everything, you can chill out, you can do what you want. You're your own boss.
But I would say as well, I think we were quite lucky in that it was quite a smooth sailing. Like it was slightly, you could feel the ship moving, but it wasn't rough in any way.
No.
I'm quite sensitive with sort of motion sickness and sea sickness, and I have felt it a couple of days, just very slight nausea, but nothing bad. So if you're worried about that, fingers crossed you get good weather as well. But
yes, yeah. So we've hoped you've enjoyed this coming along and seeing what it's like, and we hope we've shown you a few bits of what we got up to in our travel.
If I've managed to cobble together a video.
Yes, so we're going to go on an excursion now, so there'll probably be another video with our excursion in, so keep an eye out for that one. But if you've enjoyed this, then give us a like, hit the subscribe button, because that really helps us out. We are still relatively new.
Yeah, and comment if you've done the transatlantic voyages before.
What did you think?
What did you think?
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.